Hello and welcome. So today I want to talk to you about 5 ways to shift your money mindset that pay off big. I know when you're starting an entrepreneurial journey and even when you're in it and you've had some success, it's scary. And it can cause us to have a scarcity mindset, I think, instead of a mindset of abundance and prosperity. So everyone has a money mindset. Everyone has sort of this internal dialogue that they have about money. Whether it's one of scarcity or one of abundance and prosperity is, I think, a matter of your circumstances, a matter of your upbringing, and a matter of, um, what kind of knowledge you have acquired in your life. And I'm not talking about, going to school or getting a degree or anything like that. I certainly didn't grow up around people with money, and we didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up. But through sort of my entrepreneurial journey, through my yoga teacher training, through building my knowledge base as an entrepreneur, I've really been able to shift my money mindset, and it really has made a huge, huge difference. So this is something, all of these tips and tools that I'm going to share with you, I use in my daily life. I share them with all my clients and I help them work through them and implement them into their life. And I will say that it has helped me immensely, and it's helped many, many people I know immensely. So I wanted to share these with you today. The first one is go with gratitude. And I think Oprah says it best. Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never ever have enough. And that is so true. I encourage people, I encourage my yoga students, I encourage my business building clients, and my friends and family too, to have a gratitude journal. And even if you just write down one thing you're grateful for daily, it can make a big difference. There's always something to be grateful for, whether it's the fact that you woke up today, that you got out of bed, the fact that you are walking down the street and you see flowers blooming in the grass. Just very simple things like that. The fact that you have a roof over your head, that you have clean running water, that you have clothes to wear, that the fact that your basic needs are met. These are all things that we can express gratitude for and really just marinate ourselves in that feeling of gratitude. And sometimes we need a little bit of a reality check. And I don't mean this to be harsh, but the reality is half the world lives on $2.50 a day, and 80% of the population lives on $10 a day. So the fact that you do have a roof over your head, you do have clean running water, you do, you have a Facebook account, you are in this 7-day challenge with me, you have clothes to wear, your basic needs are being met. That is something in and of itself to be grateful for, and really just to know that you do have abundance already, and really just seeking that abundance out in your life and really recognizing it. Second one is, where's your ATM? And I don't mean the cash machine. I mean your automatic transformation mantra. Now, this is something that you'll want to create that resonates specifically with you, for you and your circumstances. And I really encourage you to repeat it to yourself at least once a day. Preferably more, even if it's just when you get up out of bed in the morning, before you go to bed at night. Maybe, you repeat it after you've eaten. Maybe you repeat it every time you go out of the house, whether it's driving or walking, whatever works for you. But I really encourage you to repeat it at least once a day. And I also encourage you to write it down and post it somewhere, whether it's on a post-it, on your bathroom mirror, somewhere that you will see it often and where it can be omnipresent in your life and in your mind. Now, like I said, you'd want to pick something that resonates with you, but if you're having a little bit of trouble, I totally understand. So I have a few examples here for you. One is, I open my heart and mind to abundance that is all around me. Another one is, I am open and ready to attract abundance into my life. And then this one is, I am financially free. Money is no longer an issue. I have more than I will ever need. I am free to do what I want. I am generous with what I have. And, one thing I like to do is, whenever I'm spending money on something, I like to just say to myself, I bless this, and I know that whatever I spend comes back to me multiplied. And I'm not saying, go out and spend money so you can repeat that mantra to yourself. But, when you're going grocery shopping, or you're paying rent, or you're making that mortgage payment, or you're putting gas in your vehicle, or, you're adding money to your public transportation card, whatever it is that you're doing that you need to do just to have your basic needs met, for example, uh, and whenever you spend money for those sort of essential needs, just repeat something like that to yourself. I bless this money and I know whatever I spend comes back to me multiplied. And it really just goes back to sort of having gratitude and really focusing on abundance rather than scarcity. The next one is bring the luxury home. Now, I know a lot of times when we're focusing on building our business, or we're focusing on saving money, or just maybe not spending as much, we feel deprived. And then that kind of brings us back to that scarcity mindset of not having enough. But, you don't have to necessarily forego luxurious things. You can just bring them inside. So just because you can't go out to a fancy restaurant doesn't mean you can't have a nice meal, right? Maybe make it an event. Cook a dinner with your family. Cook dinner with your partner. Make it really beautiful just plate it really nicely. Dress up like you were going out to a fancy restaurant and, set the dinner table. Maybe light some candles, put on some nice music. Really create that luxurious environment at home. For example, you could do dinner and a movie, but in. So make dinner together and then rent a movie. Watch a movie that's maybe playing on TV. Another thing I like to do is create spa days at home. So give yourself a pedicure. Soak in a nice hot bath with some candles lit and some music playing. Really make it a luxurious experience for yourself so you can have that time with your family, with your partner, with your friends, and also that self-care time as well. But it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to spend a lot of money doing it, but then you also don't feel deprived. Grow your knowledge. So I get asked this a lot by people. Oh, do I have to read money mindset books and attend money mindset seminars and all of that? Well, until your mindset really does shift and you find yourself going to these thoughts and these actions with ease, I really would encourage you to grow your knowledge base. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go out and buy, a ticket to a money-making seminar. There are lots and lots of books out there that are very helpful. The two I recommend starting with is Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich. Now, if you've read both of them, or if you go ahead and read both of them and you want more suggestions, please let me know. I have book suggestions in spades for you. And these two books have been on the market and published for quite some time now, so chances are you can probably find them at a used bookstore, for example. But it really, even if you just read 10, 20, 30 minutes a day, just it's having all of these discussions and this idea of prosperity and having an abundant mindset always present around you. And even if you read for 10 minutes a day, it's 10 minutes a day and you'll be thinking about it for the rest of the day. So, like I said, grow your knowledge base. And then be generous. So, I don't necessarily mean go out and donate a lot of money or, throw a fancy party or anything like that. What I mean is be generous with what you have, and, abundance and generosity will just come back to you. So whether it's spending time maybe with an elderly family member, or maybe you could donate your time to a cause that's important, or maybe you could invite a friend over for dinner. That maybe you're going to invite a friend or two over for that nice, luxurious dinner you're going to cook, light some candles, play some nice music. Or maybe you're going to go out for a friend and offer to pay. And I don't mean, a lot of money. Maybe you say, hey, let's meet for coffee and it's my treat. So be generous with what you have, and that really just puts you in the mindset of the fact that you do have enough. I have enough. I have an abundant life, and I can give freely to those that I love and care about. And like I said, I'm not saying go and donate a bunch of money, although, donating to good causes is obviously a worthwhile thing. But, if we're trying to allocate our money elsewhere in our life, you can still be generous and not break the bank is the point. So, I have also included in the folder for download a worksheet. Now this worksheet it says 5 ways I'm going to shift my money mindset in the next 30 days. And it goes through the 5 points I just talked about, that I'm grateful for, my ATM is, I'm bringing the luxury home by, I'm growing my knowledge base by, I'm being generous by. So I encourage you to go through, the first one, I'm grateful for. I really encourage you to have a gratitude journal. So get a journal or a piece of paper, or even if you want to do it on your phone, if you have a smartphone and you want to, keep it in maybe your note app, that's fine. Just have somewhere that you can write down one thing you're grateful for a day. And do that for the next 30 days. And then, come up with that transformative mantra. Feel free to use one of the ones I shared, or you can find your own, but write that down and really, repeat it to yourself at least once a day. And then the rest are just some ideas of, maybe jot down some ideas on how you're going to bring the luxury home so you don't feel deprived of those self-care things and of those, those fun times with your partner or your friends. And then maybe write down a book that you're going to start reading. And then maybe write down how you're going to be generous. Like I said, it could be your time, it could be buying a cup of coffee, it could be inviting a friend over for dinner. But really, I find when you write these things down and put them on paper, you see them in black and white, it holds you accountable a little bit more, and it just makes it a little bit more real. So I encourage you to go through the worksheet, and, feel free to post really any part of this or all of this in the group. We'd love to hear what you're doing, how you're implementing these things into your life, and we're just here to support you and encourage you on your journey. All right, that is all for today, and I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks for listening.